Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Scotland and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a couple of times before. I think this is going to be my fourth review involving these guys, but this is my first beer from them in a bit over a year actually. So very curious to see how this one turns out because I have heard good things about this one. So for this review then we are going to head up to Dundee and we're having a look at another beer from 71 Brewing Company. This one is called the Luminous Lights. It's a New England IPA, hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, coming in at 5.2% ABV, and this one is a beer that they brew exclusively for Lido, Scotland. So yeah, really looking forward to trying this one. As I say, been a while since I've had something from 71 Brewing. The very first beer I tried from these guys, which was probably the best one, that was the German Dunkel, and that was when they were still doing bottles. After that I had their IPA, I think it was called the Left Coast, which was a sort of West Coasty type IPA, and then they had a sort of sour Scotch ale that they did, I think, with Pomona Island down in Salford near Liverpool, Manchester sort of thing. So yeah, that was a really interesting one, but I still think the German Dunkel is the best beer that I've had from these guys so far. But I also filmed an out and about video at 71 Brewing in Dundee when I was there with my dad and a couple of friends. So yeah, that was really quite nice as well actually. But yeah, cool to have these guys on the channel once again. Like I said, my fourth review involving this brewery, so hopefully this is a nice beer and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So let's see how we get on. The Luminous Lights 5.2% New England IPA. Let's go for it. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from 71 Brewing before, and I will no doubt add more to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly at the moment because I am at home in the motherland and I will be back home again in February, so you'll see more soon. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about 71 Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So 71 Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Dundee, and the company was founded by Duncan Alexander and Mark Griffiths, both of whom used to work in the IT sector. So Duncan was visiting family in Melbourne in Australia when his homebrewing cousin took him to visit White Rabbit Brewery, and this really sparked his interest in craft beer. So when he got back home, he went down to Watford in England and he bought a 1 BBL brew kit back in 2011 and then set this up as a communal brewery in Portobello in Edinburgh. But he said this gave him the platform to experiment with brewing and let people try his beers, and it was a very valuable learning experience. But this venture naturally came to an end in 2015, and at this point he realised that he didn't want to continue as a software engineer because it was taking him further into finance jobs. So he contacted Mark, who was an old colleague and someone that he knew ran businesses very well, and they put their heads together. So together they secured funding from the Scottish Enterprise Council, and other companies and things as well helped them out, and they set up their brewery next to where the old Black Nest foundry was, and there they've got 7,200 square foot of space and also a 25 hectolitre brew house. The foundry that was originally based there was headquartered at number 71, and this is where the brewery takes its name from, 71 Brewing. But they're going through an expansion phase at the moment. They are kind of building up the brewery from what I understand, and there are a few other breweries brew their beers at 71 Brewing. I know that Dead End Brew Machine have brewed their things there for quite a wee while, and Vault City are brewing their beers there very regularly as well actually. So yeah, 71 Brewing in Dundee has become a little bit of a hub, and it's quite nice to see that kick off in Dundee because for a long time Dundee was a bit of a sort of craft beer wasteland. There was just nothing, but now yeah, you've got 71, you've got Vault City doing things there, and a few other breweries kind of popping up as well. There are quite a few There are quite a few little breweries in Dundee now, so I do need to get up there at some stage, or maybe stop off on the way to Aberdeen and see if I can pick up a few of the smaller breweries, beers from the smaller breweries that have started up there. Dundee, if you are watching from Dundee, let me know what other breweries I should be checking out in the area. That would be quite cool actually. It's quite hard to keep up with exactly what's going on, but yeah, 71 Brewing are probably the best known Dundonian brewery, and I think, yeah, there are, as I say, there are one or two others that I need to have a look at as well actually. But as of January 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 95 different beers, and they do a whole host of different styles. The one beer I would like to try from these guys would be the Breakfast Stout. Apparently the Breakfast Stout is a very, very nice one, and I've not had anything from the dark end of the spectrum from them yet, so I think we will need to try and make that the next one that we have from 71 Brewing. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about 71 Brewing for the moment. If you want to see what their kind of bar and stuff is like, you can check out my out and about video, although that's about a year and a half, 2 years old now, so you might want to just have a little, you might want to go and see it for yourself. That one might be a little bit old now, they might have done it up and things, but yeah, it is cool to go and have a little look at that anyway. But yeah, as I say, all I can tell you about 71 Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this beer and see how we go. I do like the artwork on this one. Looks like the autumn leaves, the maple trees, not quite sure, Japanese maples, autumn leaves, it looks good. But there you can see the 71 Brewing symbol, which is quite nice, and there you can see on the back it tells you it is brewed exclusively for Lidl. So yeah, we've got an awesome Lidl here near my house now. Actually, it's less than a mile down the road, but yeah, we've got a but yeah, it's actually very similar to the ones we have in Sweden, except it's got craft beer as well, so it's like, yeah. But yeah, 5.2% on this. It says it's a limited edition, so I'm guessing maybe they are going to brew something else for Lidl at a point in the future. But yeah, it's quite cool that Lidl are getting a few more craft beers and things now. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Then 5.2% New England IPA. Let's do this. Hopefully this is another good one from 71 Brewing. I guess we've not got much left in there, we can put the rest in, why not? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no sediment in the can there, so it looks good. And there we go. So, as you can see, this beer has poured a lovely hazy bright yellow colour. That looks lovely actually. 5.2%, that's got a good level of haze to it for a 5.2%er. Same colour as a kind of nice bright mango juice. You can see if I put my fingers behind that, the level of haze for a 5.2%er here is pretty impressive. You can see that when we poured this beer, it had somewhere between a half and 2/3 finger of a bumpy white head. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but I mean overall it does look pretty damn nice. But yeah, this does look pretty good, I have to say, and as I say, I'm impressed with the level of haze this has for a 5.2%er. But yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what it is, New England Hazy IPA. But yeah, lovely bright mango juice colour. Let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Okay, right. So yeah, straight away with this one, it smells like it's actually smelling quite crisp on the malt base. And I've said this in reviews before. I mean, I wonder, at 5%, this one you probably could consider this a session IPA. And if they're calling a New England IPA, 5.2%, yeah, I would argue that this potentially is going to be a session IPA, and it smells like a session IPA. I've had this debate almost in videos before, where we think, is it a pale ale? What is the difference between a session IPA and a pale ale? But of course, the technical difference between a pale ale and an IPA is the hop to malt ratio. These beers, of course, are related. Then you've got double IPA and barley wine further up the scale, of course. But yeah, I'm guessing that this one, probably they've gone for a lower malt content, and then they've kept the malt to hop ratio that you would expect of an IPA. That's probably what they're doing here. But at 5.2%, it's a bit interesting that they don't call it a session IPA. I would guess that that maybe is just a kind of marketing decision almost to for this to go into Lidl, to be honest. So yeah, maybe it's, I don't know if it's something along the lines of the Scottish alcohol rules are getting a little bit stricter. So yeah, maybe it's something to do with that, I don't know. But yeah, 5.2%. I would say kind of session IPA, this one. And it does, some of the malty qualities you get in this one do come across like session IPA actually. But in fairness, I've said this about a few of the Swedish beers that I've had recently. Some of the lower alcohol IPAs that are going about just now are really damn nice actually. So I've got high hopes for this one. But straight away with this beer, you're going to notice it's got a lovely kind of white bready character to it. You can definitely pick up a little bit of wheatiness out of this one. And there's a wee bit, does it have oats in it, this one? Does it say? It does, yeah, it's got oats in it. I was thinking that from the aroma. But yeah, you can get a little bit of the oaty smoothness out of this one. Definitely, the oats almost give it a little bit of sweetness. If you take the aroma in more deeply, it's got a nice kind of, it's got a nice sort of wheaty, bitey backbone to it, which I think is really nice. But yeah, the malty backbone of this one, I have to say, comes across as really quite nice. There's a little bit of crispness to it for sure. White bread, as I say. And then you've got a bit of bitey wheat and a nice kind of smooth oaty character to it as well. So I really, really like how the malt base on this one goes together. It actually reminds me of the no nipple and the single nipple. The no nipple IPA and the nipple IPA that I've had recently from Brewski in Helsingborg back over in Sweden. So it really, the malt base in this one really reminds me of that. So yeah, soft white bread, a little bit of an oaty kind of smoothness and creaminess to it, maybe a tiny little bit of Werther's Original in there, and you've also got a good little bit of a wheaty kind of bitey character as well. On the hoppy side of things, the green side of the hops, I would say that this one's it's slightly spicy and floral. I would definitely say, yeah, slightly spicy and floral. The carbonation, I think is going to be nice and crisp on this one. You can almost just smell the kind of crispness out of this one. You can really smell that. But yeah, the green component of the hops in here is kind of, it's got a nice zesty sort of grassiness to it. You can pick up a nice little bit of a floral aromaticity to the beer, and you've also got just a wee tiny touch of earthiness to this one as well, which is quite nice. But yeah, the fruits in this are quite zesty as well. So let's focus on that fruity side of things. Yeah, this one, it's almost, I find this one quite limey, to be honest with you. There is a wee bit of like a passion fruity quality there as well. You've got a slightly stronger kind of passion fruity quality to it. And you've also got some nice kind of limey notes as well, actually. It's got a bit of a sort of lemon limey kind of thing. Is there anything more on the tropical side of things? Yeah, I mean, it's got a soft kind of tropical, yeah, it has got a very soft kind of tropical mango-y, apricot-y sort of thing going on. You do get some of that there, but I think it's got a wee bit of that more pungent passion fruit in the background, and then it's a little bit more limey and zesty on the kind of front end actually. So it smells like a very kind of straight shooting IPA, this one. I do think this is going to be basically a session IPA, to be honest with you, but it does smell very inviting, and that's kind of what you would want. A lot of these kind of more supermarket-y type beers that are coming out in Scotland just now, and I guess you could say down in England as well, Tesco's and Morrison's and all of these guys are doing more and more craft beers actually. But a lot of these supermarket craft beers actually are pretty damn solid. They're designed to be nice and drinkable and solid in flavour at the same time, so it's good. But yeah, aroma, this one comes across as very inviting. I think this is going to be quite a nice beer, to be honest. Let's taste it. So this is the Luminous Lights 5.2% ABV from 71 Brewing in Dundee and here in Scotland. Looking forward to this. Nice to have these guys back on the channel after quite a little while. Slàinte, Skull, cheers. Oh yeah, that's solid. That is really nice and solid, I have to say. Yeah. It's definitely a session IPA. There's no doubt in my mind about that. This is a session IPA, and there's a lot of, you know, I don't know if it's maybe the fact that on the channel I kind of focused on the, you know, I hardly ever reviewed pale ales, to be honest with you, but trying some of these lower alcohol ABV beers has been really nice recently. I've had some really, really nice experiences with these. Like I said, the no nipple and the nipple IPAs from Brewski and Helsingborg are the ones that come to mind. The Niblina from Ramarov Gårdsbryggeri as well is another one that is from fairly local to me in Skåne. But yeah, this is solid, so thumbs up to 71 Brewing for this. This is a nice, if you're going to have a beer that's brewed on a slightly larger scale to go into supermarkets, this is a good one. This is a solid one, so well done to them for that. I think I'm drinking this one very slightly, you know, a little bit too cold, right enough. but it comes across very, very nicely, as I said. But yeah, that's a very nice, easy drinking beer. That, and you know, at 5.2%, that's what you'd expect. This is the same kind of percentage as a number like golden ales, you know, like Jarl from Fine Ales or something like that. I'm sure Jarl's about 5%. So yeah, that's definitely one that that is one that you need to have a go at as well if you haven't already. Jarl's beautiful. Love that beer. So yeah, where to start with this one then? Yeah, as I said, thumbs up to 71 Brewing for this solid low alcohol IPA. This straight away with this beer, then you can feel a little bit of that soft white bready quality just blanket in the middle of your tongue. In the middle of your palate, in the middle third of your palate, you're going to feel a little bit of an oaty smoothness coming out of this one. You're going to feel a little bit of an oaty smoothness coming out of this one. The further you go into the aftertaste, it almost develops a little bit of sweetness in the middle of the palate as well. But yeah, this one I think it goes down very, very nicely. You can't say much more than that. The malt, it's a very straight shooting beer, this, absolutely, but it does what you want, and it has the flavour impact that you'd want as well. So yeah, soft white bready notes, that blankets the middle and the back third of your tongue. In the middle third of your palate, it's got a little bit of a kind of smoother oaty kind of note to it, which is nice. So yeah. As you go into the back third of your palate as well, there's definitely more kind of wheaty notes to it. It's got a little bit of a kind of wheaty, bitey sort of thing on the back third of your palate. It definitely, the wheat isn't too bitey in this one. It actually, as you come further forward on that back third of your tongue, there's a bit of bitiness at the very back of the tongue. As you move further forward, it's a little bit smoother. And then as you move into the middle third of your palate, you can feel that the thickness of the beer just drops a little bit. There is a wee bit of crispness there on that borderline between the middle and back thirds of your palate. Then in the middle third of your palate, you feel the softer white bread and then the smooth oats on top of it. And that's sort of slightly Werther's original note that I was picking up from the aroma. You don't get that in the flavour of this beer, but you do just get a nice little bit of sweetness coming out of the oats the further you go into it. So yeah, it's got a really nice malt base, this one, for a lower alcohol IPA, as I said, especially a New England hazy type IPA. This one is, you know, pretty nice and solid. This is as good as the ones I was having over in Sweden recently, which is nice. But yeah, onto the hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit, getting a little bit of gas off this. Going on to if you go into the back corners of your palate, then there is a little bit of earthiness to this one, not too much though, but quite quickly as you move further forward along the sides of the tongue, the beer becomes quite deep and floral and aromatic, which is quite nice. And then round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter, and it is a little bit lighter and grassy. So yeah, it's got a nice green component to it. I would say the most prominent part of that is the kind of floral aromaticity, actually. So yeah, the floral aromatic component of this beer is pretty damn nice. Yeah, little bit there is a wee bit of a zestiness comes out of the grassiness later on, but I would say the grassy quality of this beer is actually, you know, pretty smooth and pretty straight shooting in a sense. The fruity side of this beer is quite similar to what you would experience from the aroma. But yeah, front third of your palate, there's a nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. If you go to that border region between front third and middle third of your palate, there's a nice, how do you say? There is a nice kind of how do you describe that? It's like a soft sort of, it's like a slightly thicker white bready kind of quality there. You do get that on that border region between middle and front third of your palate. Actually, there is a little bit of that there. So yeah, you really get that, and you can feel some of the kind of bready smoothness just spreading forward and sitting there underneath the fruits. But yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, there's a wee bit of passion fruit in there. As you move further forward, you might find a few small, a few little hints of the, like apricot and these softer kind of tropical fruits in there. But as you reach the front half of that front third of your tongue, you get the more kind of zesty qualities out of the beer. You get you get a sort of lemon-limey type quality out of this one. I'd be curious to know what hops they've used in this, to be honest. It is a little bit hard to place. yeah, it is a wee bit hard to place exactly what hops they would have used in this one, to be honest with you. I mean, if it's got the softer tropical notes like this, could it be a little bit of Simcoe or something like this? Simcoe, maybe Simcoe and Centennial, I don't know, something like that. Or, you know, maybe a little bit of Equinox would be the other thing, because it does have a wee bit of a kind of lemon limey type quality to it, this one. You know, Equinox gives you a lot of lime, Centennial gives you a bit of lemon, and this beer, it does develop a wee bit of zestiness on that front tip of the palate too. But yeah, I think that's a fair descriptor of this one. It's sort of lemon limey, I think, on the front half of the fruity part of the tongue, and then it's got a wee bit of the stronger passion fruit at the very back, but then some softer tropical fruits in between actually. But yeah, like I said, this is a solid New England Session IPA. I definitely would call this a Session IPA. At 5.2% for me, this is a Session IPA, to be honest. You will get ones that are lower than this. You know, you'll get ones that are between 4.5 and 5.2 and things like this that you would call Session IPAs. But for me, I would call this a Session IPA, this one. But it's very, very nice. I will say that. This is quite nice. This could be the best IPA I've had from 71 Brewing so far, actually. That's very, very nice. In terms of the mouthfeel then, to round off the review, I think we've described the flavour of this one pretty solidly so far. But in terms of the mouthfeel, I would describe this beer as being fairly, I think it's, you know, it's kind of bottom end of mid-bodied for me, this one. It has got a nice little bit of drinkability to it, which is what you would want from a Session IPA. Usually these are lighter in the mouthfeel than the regular ones. Yeah, this is kind of bottom end of mid-bodied for me. Carbonation has a wee bit of crispness to it. It was giving me a little bit of gas, to be honest with you. But that just happens. This is the first beer I'm drinking of the day, and that, yes, that sometimes happens. Yeah, it's got a lovely kind of cleanliness to it, this one as well. We always boast about our tap water in Scotland, and you know, the water quality, you always feel this sort of cleanliness with Scottish beers. Absolutely, you get the same with the Norwegian ones and the Swedish ones from further up north as well. But yeah, it has a really nice kind of clean mouthfeel to it. I would say yeah, mid-bodied, smooth mouthfeel overall, but at the same time quite clean. Really nice. I would say maybe in terms of IBUs, this one's about 25 or 30. I would say I think 25 is a better estimate for this one, to be honest with you. But remember, this is the weakest part of my beer tasting reviews. So my IBU count can often be off. But yeah, the malt base in this one, I would say it's quite smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness develops out of it later. It's got a nice little bit of smooth tropical fruit flavour to it and a little bit of zestiness. And yeah, 25 IBUs. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together. And this is a solid kind of supermarket type IPA, so well done to 71 Brewing for this one. I would class this though as a Session IPA, so that would be my one thing about it. I would say, I would call it a New England Session IPA. I would sort of put that on the can, that's a Session IPA, rather than that. But as I say, I think that could well be a marketing decision by the guys at Lidl, I'm not sure. But yeah, nice beer, this one. I think this is it's quite a citrusy leaning Session IPA, but you do find that Session IPAs tend to lean more towards the kind of lemon limey citrusy kind of thing rather than the softer tropical fruits a lot of time. Just gives the beer a little bit more bite when the malt base isn't quite as heavy, you know. But it works. Solid beer, this one. So I think that's a nice place to round off this review. So this one was the Luminous Lights, a New England Session IPA, as I would call it, 5.2% ABV. Pardon me, from 71 Brewing in Dundee, and yeah, brewed exclusively for Lidl stores in Scotland, from what I gather. I don't know if the English guys get this as well. I'll need to ask them about that, but yeah, it's in Lidl, Scotland anyway. If you want to try this beer, you will need to go to Lidl, but the new Lidl stores are great. They've got the pretzels and all the other things that we usually enjoy over in Sweden and things, so I was quite happy to go and visit the new Lidl store for this. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from 71 Brewing. Like I said, my next beer that I want to do from these guys is the Breakfast Stout. I think that should be quite nice, but yeah, I want to get something from the dark end of the spectrum from these guys the next time. Hopefully when I'm home in February I can get a hold of another beer from these guys, but in the meantime this was another one to bring back 71 Brewing on the channel with. So yeah, let's leave it there. Thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, check out 71 Brewing, and I will catch you guys in the next one. The Luminous Lights, New England, in my opinion, Session IPA from from 71 Brewing up in Dundee, brewed exclusively for Lido stores in Scotland. Slàinte, skål, cheers.